Hello, everyone. It's Jess Claire here, coming to you, hopefully, Earth Elders, the Collective Fire, the group. I'm very, very thrilled that the owner of this group has given me permission to talk to you. I have something I'd really like to share. If you are jumping on, I would love you to I'm just finding myself here. I'd love you to interact with me and tell me what you think about this, because I've got something very exciting I want to sort of tell you guys about. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jess Claire. I run a channel that's called Raw, Real, and Amplify. It's also being channeled. Hello, Adora. It's also being channeled. This is being channeled there, and I wanted to talk to you about some things that I don't think we talk about. And I think it is really important that we're able to amplify this message ASAP. And I think, after talking to Matthew Liam Gardner, who created this group, he's very much, aligned with these sort of things getting talked about. Hello, Market. If you are coming on, please leave me a comment. I would love to interact with you. Engagement is more important than anything for me. I want to know what you think, what you feel, all of that. So I'm going to be very quick because this doesn't need to take a long time. But what I wanted to share with you is that I really, really believe that there's these conversations that need to be had publicly and openly, rawly and really. And that these conversations need to be had in such a way that all of us can get engaged in it. All of us can share. All of us can see ourselves in this. Good afternoon. Hello, Kimberly. Hello, Heather. We need to talk about the real things that are going on. We speak very around the edges about our conditioning, but what are the new conversations that are going to need to be had to have this conditioning fall away with velocity? I know that everyone in this group cares about this. I know that everyone in this group really wants to see a kind of different world. Some people call it New Earth, some people call it whatever you want to call it. It's going to take new ways of being and acting for this to show up. Hello, whoever that is. I can't see everyone. I can only see you if you're in Earth Elders. So what is that going to look like? Well, we've created this group and it's called Channel Raw, Real, and Amplify. Now, what we mean by that is we want to hear your raw conversations, your real conversations, and we want to amplify these across channels in social media. If you really stop to think about it, what's happening is the most amount of amplification of a message is actually what's being filtered to the TVs, to the screens, to Hollywood, across the globe. Those messages are popular, and they're the ones that become what people talk about. I want us to talk about the things that matter. And I'm just going to say what matters to me, right? And you can tell me what matters to you, but that's what this is about. It's not just about what Jess Claire thinks matters. This is about what I think everyone needs to have a voice. If something matters to you, if you get fired up about something, there's usually something behind that matters. I want to have that real conversation. I want to talk about anxiety in a way that people can actually listen to it, so they're not just like tuning out. And it's like, oh my God, there's so much to deal with in this planet. Oh, I just don't want to talk about it. Yeah, I get it. So how do we have real, engaging, juicy conversations that impact things like anxiety? How do we have real, raw, juicy conversations that impact depression? How do we make it okay for all of the human experiences that people experience to just be like nothing? Domestic violence and suicide, whoever said that, exactly. How do we have the real, raw conversations about domestic violence and suicide? I mean, they're tough conversations, right? And you might get triggered if you know someone in my life committed suicide last week. You know, it's not easy to talk about this stuff. But how do we do it? How are we going to have shows and have real and raw conversations about it so that it can be palatable and impactful for everyone in our community? It is not hard to talk about domestic violence because it's not easy to talk about things that bring up guilt and shame for everyone. What if we could allow guilt and shame to just be a part of a process, not take us out cognitively? We all experience it. It's no different to joy. You know, it's hard to talk about because people don't listen. You know, it's true. How do we have conversations where we get to bypass that? People are listening on social media. You know, it's a really good point, Jessica. It's like, how do we have a kind of conversation where there is judgment isn't there? I mean, I'm unwilling to be in judgmental conversations. You know, I don't have arguments. I'm not interested in those conversations. I actually gave up. You know, people are like, oh, you have to have different opinions. Sure, I want everyone's view and opinion to be relevant, but not inside of anything that's about arguing or butting heads. No, I want to have real, raw, evolutionary conversations that make a difference, where both people are engaged and really looking and grappling. And how do we do that for things like even our own failures, human sexuality? I mean, there's, you know, something that's important to me is ending human trafficking. There's a whole sex trafficking industry out there that's bigger than is the biggest industry on the planet, guys. It's in the dark web, right? So how do we have conversations about the suppression of our own sexuality that leads people to have to do some of the most horrendous things behind closed doors? Our access is our own sexuality and our own sexual repression. How do we have these conversations? It's true, these are not easy conversations to have, but this is about being raw, real, and amplifying it so it's digestible for mass consumption. It cannot be amplified for mass consumption in the way that we're doing it now. Okay, it's just not. And I'm not saying I have the answers either, right? I'm saying if we did have the answers, this would already be amplified. But I'm starting this channel. I've already started this channel, and I'm inviting you all to come over to this channel. Anyone who wants to do a show, anyone that has a voice. We're actually going to do training. You know, it's great for me to get out there and have these raw conversations, but I want other people to do it. And I want to provide a safe space for you to do it. And I want to amplify your message. And I want to talk about the components in which have people consume mass consumption of message, because I actually know this stuff. I want to provide that so that your voice gets out there. If you're interested in doing this, and if you want to be someone who can be on a show, who has a message, who wants to lead a conversation, who wants to impact the community and ultimately impact your life around you, because that's your access, then, you know, I want you to join this group, and I want you to share this with people that you think would like to do that too. This is really about, for me, having the kind of conversations that are juicy and make a difference and expand joy and, you know, make the process of the breakdown and the breakthrough just normal, and allowing ourselves to just have life happen through us, not to us, you know. So the link is in, just for those of you who are interested, the link is in the message, is in the description, but it's also, you know, the Facebook group is called Channel Raw, Real, and Amplify. I want to see a different world, and I know everyone does. And there is people that say they want to see a different world, and it's absolutely okay to say you want a different world. But then there's people that actually go and take actions consistent with seeing a different world, like actively being the one to create a different world together. Okay. There is no different world in talking about wanting a different world. There is only a different world in being very interested in what's going on for yourself and being someone who actively talks about the real, raw stuff and has access to being different in every moment and providing that to others so that they can do the same. This is all about our internal world coming out here and being amplified so that other people can relate and see that they are no different to any other human being on the planet. That comparison and competition gets to die. That this idea that there's this right and wrong in the world is actually part of what's keeping the resistance and the shame and the guilt in place and allowing there's no space for us to just be ourselves and be human whilst we're all trying to figure out what's right and wrong. We can't test and be creative on new conversations. If we make a mistake, we're just vilified for it because, we screw up and people like second chances. I'm talking about 1 billion chances. There is no 1 second chance. Now, I get that there's some pretty horrendous things going on in the world. Our access to dealing with some of the horrendous things is actually allowing ourselves to test and create and innovate new ways and conversations. So this channel is really about that exploration. And if you want to be someone that is into that, please have a look at the link. It's in the description. I'm going to drop the link in here too. Kimberly, you're interested. Jess, it's hard when people portray perfection. And I know. So I'm going to just let you know, there is no one who's actually happy. Well, that's not true. Some people actually are happy. But happiness is created moment by moment. We're not happy all the time, is probably what I should say. Everyone who thinks and says, it's absolutely fine. No one has to be a part of this. This isn't about going, everyone needs to be someone who wants to be in this conversation. No. But anyone that does, just imagine what it would be like if our TV screens and our social media screens were filled up with digestible conversations and engaging conversations that made a freaking big difference. The only way that's going to happen is when people join some sort of movement like this is and start to develop, explore, and practice the kind of conversations that make a difference to impact this stuff. Make it engaging. Make it fun. How can it be fun? Well, maybe it could be entertaining. We like to be entertained. We do not want anything to add to the noise. So how could we do that, right? We got to work out ways to do this. You got to practice. It means so many things for different people, happiness. It does, right? It does. That's why I'm saying it's creative, like anything. It's just not a place we're ever going to get. It's not out there in the distance, out of our reach. It's right here. So exactly, loving conversations, impactful conversations, digestible, engaging. Imagine if we could do that. Well, if you want to join this group and work out a way to do that, start practicing. Safe space to fail, but use the data of this constant showing up and trying out and practicing new, risky, on the edge conversations that no one wants to have, but we're going to try and have them and we're going to see what happens. And if it doesn't work, oh well, we're going to have to own that too. But we're going to keep edging and edging and edging to see what's possible if we can amplify these conversations in a way that people can hear it at mass consumption. I think that's going to make a difference. I would love you to join that. Thank you, Felicity. Thank you guys, for tuning in. I will drop the link in here. And if you're interested in being on a show, having a show, we've got a massive audience. So it's like being on a show, having a show, being trained in being on a show, even if you don't know where to start. We're looking at providing, we've got a group where we actually train you to show up and what that looks like and how to engage and all of that. If you're interested in impacting some of the biggest stuff, domestic violence, anxiety, depression, suicide, ending human trafficking. If you're interested in and anything else that might be there, abuse, anything like that, and you're like, whoa, that's how we're going to do that. Don't worry about how. Just know that this is what this channel is about. That's the outcome. That doesn't mean that's the show. Okay, it's the outcome. That's what it's impacting. But what it is your voice, your message, your unique expression amplified is really what we care about. So join that group, reach out to me, would love to speak to you, and you will see pornography, absolutely. Whoever said that, that's a part of the sexuality stuff we're dealing with is, this not being able to actually experience our own energy because we've got such potent energy in our bodies. So what do? We're trying to get rid of it. So we do things like porn and do some, what you could consider some toxic sexual practices. So how do we explore and express our own sexuality in this healthy, joyful, beautiful, pleasurable way? We need to talk about that. Pornography is a big problem, but there's nothing wrong. We can't be shaming people for it either. Anyway, I could start getting on my high horse about these issues, but I want you to join me. I can't do this on my own. I need other people to come and create shows and show up and authentically explore these raw, real, potent, important conversations with me. So if you do, please join the group. We'd love you to jump over. And thank you all for joining in to this conversation and being a part of what could be a real amplification of the conversations that matter. Okay. Have a great day. Thanks for joining in, and I'll see you later.